If one morning you woke up and realized that all the mathematical walls upon which the modern world is built had actually come from your own mind, and on that very same day, you chose to brush all that grandeur aside and retreat into silence, what would people call you? Most likely, they'd call you mad. But today, far beyond madness, we're going to talk about a giant who abandoned the world in pursuit of purity and absolute honesty, Alexander Grothendieck. He was the last great prophet of mathematics. He fundamentally reshaped the geometry of the universe. Yet, the reality he perceived was so heavy that he chose to spend the rest of his life in a mountain village, fleeing from humanity. Today, on The Cost of Genius, we examine the tragic exile of a mind that reached the summit and then looked down at the world of us mortals with disgust. Alexander Grothendieck's entrance into the world of mathematics was like a massive rock crashing into a still lake. He wasn't interested in solving problems. He wanted to recreate the very space in which mathematics was done. To understand his contributions, you don't need complex formulas. Just imagine this metaphor: while other mathematicians were digging tunnels through a mountain with pickaxes and shovels, Grothendieck was slowly submerging the mountain under rising water. As the water rose, the mountain disappeared, and the problem vanished on its own. He completely reimagined the field known as algebraic geometry. By founding the theory of schemes, he revealed the ancient hidden bond between numbers and shapes. Many of the structures used today in modern physics, string theory, or high-level cryptography are, in fact, reflections of those pure thoughts Grothendieck scribbled on paper back in the 1960s. He was the tailor of that invisible fabric that makes up the texture of the universe. But for Grothendieck, mathematics was never a career or a hunt for prizes. For him, mathematics was a way of reading the language of God. Toward the end of the 1960s, at the very height of his genius, he began to notice how this magnificent structure he had helped build was being contaminated. He saw mathematics, the purest form of truth, being funded for military projects, used to create tools of destruction, and turned into an arena where scientists fought ego battles like bureaucrats. This realization caused an irreparable fracture in his soul. He was searching for truth. The world wanted only weapons and money from that truth. This is where the first installment of the price was paid. Grothendieck began to feel disgust toward the world and everything it represented. In 1970, he walked away from it all. He abandoned his professorships at the most prestigious institutes in the world, the multi-million-dollar budgets, and the colleagues who worshipped him like a god. People thought he was having a temporary outburst of anger, but Grothendieck was serious. He refused to be a cog in the massive machine he called the system. First, he fled universities, then cities, and finally people themselves. He settled in La Serre, a mountain village deep in the Pyrenees, barely visible on a map. There, over the course of decades, he paid the heaviest price a genius can pay: absolute isolation. The price he paid was not just loneliness. It was a relentless and dark journey of a mind turning inward on itself. In his village home, he accepted no visitors. He turned away former students who came to see him. He even drove his own children from his door. What was he doing there? The mathematical world hoped he was secretly working on another miracle. Instead, he was writing thousands, tens of thousands, of pages of confessions. In the monumental texts he titled Harvests and Sowings, Récoltes et Semailles, he described how the scientific world had decayed, how he himself had become a ghost, and his reckoning with God. His intellect had carried him to such a place that the language spoken by ordinary people sounded like meaningless noise to him. He had unraveled the geometry of the universe. but the geometry of his own soul lay in ruins. In the final years of his life, the villagers saw him only as an old man in shabby clothes, going out to do his shopping at the market, with an unquenchable sorrow in his eyes. Yet that man had once expanded the boundaries of human thought. The price Grothendieck paid was the blinding light that comes from looking too closely at truth. That light prevented him from seeing the rest of the world. It severed his bonds with people, made love impossible, and exiled him to the vast but cold deserts of his own mind. When he died in 2014, he left behind neither property nor a will, only a massive silence that no one dared to touch, and thousands of pages of mysterious notes. Alexander Grothendieck teaches us this: genius is sometimes an escape plan. An escape from the ugliness of the world, the lies of the system, and humanity's petty calculations, into the icy, flawless temple of mathematics. But if you stay in that temple too long, you may never find the way back to the outside world. Grothendieck saw the heart of the universe, and then chose to lose himself inside it. Because sometimes the greatest discovery is realizing that you are not a part of this world. In this episode of The Cost of Genius, you've witnessed the story of a god turning into a ghost. If these kinds of tragic and profound stories of genius interest you, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and like the video. In the next episode, we'll meet another soul who split his own life in two with the sharp sword of truth. Goodbye.